Welcome to Rumbo Minero. Cesar, how are you?
Good to see you, Jorge.
My name is Jorge Leon, and along with Cesar Campos, we are going to develop this program. First of all, Cesar and television viewers, we must regret the attack on the former Minister of Mines, Rafael Belahunde. Well, we believe the government should provide security to all applicants in this particular situation, correct?
This serves as a reminder that citizens are still feeling insecure. It's a call to action urging attention to the issue. A disturbing element in the development of our society. Therefore, certainly concrete actions are now set to be undertaken by the government, especially aimed at supporting the presidential contenders, as you correctly pointed out.
Let's not repeat the tragic fate of countries like Colombia and Ecuador, marked by high mortality rates.
Colombia.
It reminds us of the disastrous times during Galán's presidency in Colombia. Let's strive for a better future. Let's finally take action on this matter, huh? It is crucial to discuss and act upon. Ismael Benavides will be joining us, emphasizing the significance of taking action and discussing important matters. Ismael Benavides, the former Economy and Finance Minister, known for his expertise in agriculture, is one of the brightest minds in his field. What topics will we cover in our discussion? Let's dive in. About the Tía María project and how it could move the needle in the economy. We are also going to talk about the budget on what it should be. The budget being debated in Congress with the executive, of course, and where they should place emphasis, right? And we will also have Miguel Incháustegui, says.
Indeed, the former Minister of Energy and Mines, with whom we are going to discuss the permanent debate that the expansion of the REINFO has generated, President José Gonzáles' government, says that he now intends to reduce by 1 year, as we all know, the opinion pre-approved by the Energy and Mines Committee in Congress, which is still subject to a vote in the plenary. He is proposing that this extension be for 2 years.
That's right. And before we get started with the interviews, at Rumbo Minero, we have meticulously compiled a detailed report covering all the essential topics. It will equip you with the necessary information for your upcoming important interviews. Let's go ahead.
The public sector budget law for 2026, with a total exceeding $257,562 billion, has been officially approved by the Congress of the Republic. Sols. Of this amount, 164,223 million correspond to the national government, 59,964 million to regional governments, and 35,595 million to local governments. In particular, the Ministry of Energy and Mines will manage a budget of more than 818 million sols. The head of the portfolio, Luis Enrique Bravo, informed that this amount will be distributed between current expenses, which contemplate more than 406 million, and capital expenditures for 412 million. He also emphasized that these resources will allow strengthening territorial articulation, promote technological innovation, protect natural resources, and guarantee the country's energy security. On the other hand, the Ministry of Defense's budget program for the reduction of illegal mining will have an amount of 92.3 million sols, which will allow interdiction operations in high-incidence areas such as El Tambo in Amazonas, the Pampa in Madre de Dios, and Patas in La Libertad. This allocation of funds is crucial for the Peruvian mining sector during a strategic period. The formal start of the exploitation of the Tía María project in Arequipa, driven by Southern Peru Copper Corporation, was then authorized. The authorization allows to start the clearing of the La Tapada mine and to advance in the dry and wet areas of the complex. According to the mining company's CFO, Raúl Jacobs, the company plans to execute over $1.1 billion between the end of 2025 and all of 2026. Additionally, the executive acknowledged the good disposition of the local population to ensure the project's viability and support. Such is the magnitude of Tía María that the approval of the start of its construction has boosted the interest of Chilean suppliers and investors to strengthen their presence in Peruvian mining industry. Confirmed by Juan Carlos Fischer Tudela, president of the Peruvian-Chilean Chamber of Commerce, who said that the project has acted as a catalyst for technology and equipment companies interested in entering the country. This points to a promising year for mining operations in Peru, indicating positive outcomes ahead.
Thank you to the Rumbo Minero team for the insightful report that enhances our understanding. We are currently in our studios in the process of analyzing and discussing the information provided. Engineer Ismael Benavides, former Minister of Economy and Finance and Agriculture. Ismael, how are you?
Good morning. Very well, thank you.
Hey, Ismael, if you would be able to, as one of the I believe ministers, former economy ministers more knowledgeable on the subject. Could you explain to us a little about what we are seeing in Congress on the budget issue? It's a push and pull, and without another time, without like in the case of the REINFO and MAP, right? It's more about pooling water for everyone's own meals, a tug of war. What is truly beneficial for us to look upon the year 2026 favorably? Prioritizing what in the national budget?
Investment needs to be our top priority. Look, for the country to grow, double what it is growing now, which is 3.2, 3.3, private investment should account for around 20% of the GDP. Well, this signifies a certain... Only half of the vast sum remains uninvested at present, while the other half has been put to use. Furthermore, public investment needs to reach a minimum of 5%. If you invest 20% privately and 5% publicly, you can expect a growth rate of around 7% or 8% for your overall investment portfolio, as it was in Alan Garcia's second government. Budget invest. The public budget must prioritize investments to ensure efficient use of resources. 5%, which complements and also drags private investment. It should be a driving force for development, for economic growth, and for the reduction of poverty.
The Minister of Economy, precisely Ismael, Denise Miralles, has spoken of a shock of debureaucratization. To prioritize the valid point you're making, it's essential to focus on allocating resources towards enhancing both public and private investments in order to drive economic growth. Nevertheless, when examining the budget legislation, 66 complementary norms that increase public spending have been disclosed. It is dedicated to payrolls. It is dedicated to something completely different from what the minister thinks. How can we materialize this idea?
To the current expenditure, which is outrageous. And nowadays, the public sector salary already exceeds the private sector average salary because there has been spending inflation. And also an expenditure that doesn't truly yield returns for society, because we have witnessed the caliber of individuals who joined the government under Castillo. Started off with Boluarte, followed immediately truly inexperienced individuals holding positions of authority. They are well paid, and the truth is...
So, Ismael, can you possibly explain how Minister Miralles fits into all of this? My sincere apologies for asking. To precisely locate or orient the budget towards greater public and private investment, subject to the constraints specified in the budget regulations.
Well, obviously it's difficult for a transitional government that is leaving office to do things. But yes, I think that the minister can investment, particularly in partnerships between the public sector and private entities. Even in the final days, Alan and I continued to push forward with privatizations while also advocating for their implementation. Some privatizations can still be carried out. The signing of mining contracts and also of petroleum exploration agreements, that they encourage private investment. Therefore, I think that one major challenge with the ongoing expenses is the difficulty in downsizing public sector employees. It tends to become a rigid and complicated process.
It vests rights.
Acquired rights, and what they have to do is freeze the hiring process. And of course, all the current resources incoming specifically from mining taxes should be carefully managed and utilized. Of agro-exporting, dedicate them to reproductive investment, which is what the country needs.
Now, we are seeing that it has improved a little, but the truth is that it is very little for what is needed. Regional governments continue to execute less than 60%. What specific reforms do you believe are essential for regional expenditures in order for them to genuinely, should we do things correctly? It's said that about 95% of rain actually reaches the sea, leaving us to quarrel over just the remaining 5% of water. We need to consider damming it up as well. Therefore, in terms of regional expenses, what changes in policies could be implemented to bring about reform? The issue?
80% of Peru's population is on the coast, and we only have 2% of the water on the coast. So there is an enormous task to be done, not just blocking water flow, but also influencing urban water systems. Utilizing water reuse promotes a circular economy concept where resources are conserved. You can treat wastewater and reuse it first for agriculture, and then when people are more comfortable with that water, you can even drink it as it is in Israel, as it is in Singapore, as it is in other parts of Peru.
How can we improve spending in the region through reforms?
So the regional spending, the big problem is that the regional governments, they become fiefdoms. They are petty little kings who manage regional investment at their whim, in addition to all the powers delegated to them by the central government. I think it's needed. Regional capacities need to be built so that they can have good technical files and good execution of works.
Or return to what? Or return to what? Or return to what? Because Toledo did this, right? Or return to what it was before Toledo, which is the government.
I think that at this point it is difficult because there are already expectations in the regions, and there is also a feeling that Lima, despite the fact that 70% of the public expenditure is in the provinces, that Lima manages everything. That Lima handles everything, which is not true, because today the regions handle the... Currently, the regions are responsible for scheduling appointments for both teachers and doctors. The great part of public works, and generally they are doing it very badly and with a lot of corruption. So what is needed there is to build their capacities and support them so that they can really execute the public work well. Public works good. The majority of stalled projects in Peru are under the regional governments and some municipalities.
An Ernst & Young forecast in their mining metals investment guide for the years 2025 to 2026 highlights Peru's potential for new mining projects. Between 2026 and 2028, Ismael, for 6.9 billion, especially in copper. And obviously, in all the recent mining events that have happened at Perumin, and we will continue to address them at Expo Mina next year as well, this copper production cycle and the demand it is going to have in the world market is very important. What changes need to be implemented in the state to facilitate the promotion of this significant investment once the new administration takes office?
The state needs to complete its homework before anything else. To create a culture and awareness in favor of mining, which has been happening. However, there is still room for improvement, and you are making significant progress in achieving that goal. That's the first thing. The second is to debureaucratize. It's eliminating procedures. But I have heard several ministers say the process of debureaucratization, a shock,
streamlining.
It's a process of demystification, yet everything remains unchanged. Procedures are still the same. And for that, what is truly needed is a political decision coming from the top in such a way that mechanisms generate to be able to debureaucratize. For example, Argentina has created the Ministry of Debureaucratization, the process of deregulation with Mr. Sturzenegger, that is yielding important results. Here, what is needed is to have a person with the rank of minister who can streamline bureaucracy in all ministries to reduce inefficiencies.
Wasn't it Elon Musk's role at the beginning of Trump's administration to analyze how to streamline the government operations and make it more bureaucratic?
That's right. Look, and this must be done by the central government and the regional governments. And in the municipalities, since they are also a hindrance with licenses and paperwork. Civil defense, all the costs that implies to set up a small business, street-facing doors.
Ismael, you are quite knowledgeable in the field of mining and agriculture, isn't that right? Regarding how to establish a sustainable coexistence between, well, there has been extensive discussion, hasn't there, concerning mining and agriculture, because between the two there can be a much greater harmony, much larger among the surrounding populations. But how do we manage to integrate these two sectors?
Look, I believe that they are absolutely, and they are complementary, and they actually support each other. Take a look. In the past, Cerro Pasco owned haciendas and collaborated with the communities around the mines. In La Oroya, Cerro Pasco. I believe that the fundamental issue today is, well, all this indoctrination that Marxist anti-mining activists on the political left, of the supposed environmentalists who have generated between the communities and the people. I believe that must be fought. But the other thing is to define what farmers prioritize is water above all else. Farming revolves around water for farmers. And the mining industry has to go hand in hand with the Protect and enhance the water sources available to farmers to ensure improved access to quality water for their needs. That is the first thing. And the second thing is helping them train and also to access new markets, which is a major challenge currently faced. Coming from the potato producers or perhaps the quinoa producers, the point is that the prices, the ones to whom your products reach the market, are very low. The potato, well, in Lima is a very cheap product. It is our duty to support them in developing infrastructure with country roads, which will permit them to do so, to get to the market faster with fewer intermediaries for their products and also training. I believe that there are important examples of this. And of course, sometimes one says, well, the mining company isn't responsible for this. But in the absence of the state, the mining
That's
firm...
what I was going to say. In the absence of the state, the company has to, yes, for convenience, but it has to convince and help for sustainable development, right?
Right, exactly.
The electoral process, Ismael, is already completing its stages. Primary elections have been held in two parties with a direct vote from the members. The APRA already has a candidate, Enrique Valderrama. Renovación Popular has a candidate in the case of Rafael Lopez Aliaga. And this weekend, through delegates, the formulas will also be defined. And now comes the most interesting stage, which is that of the proposals. Since mining is such an important lever of the economic debate, there is no doubt that we have to start showing items of what has to be the way to approach the issue of mining. The way to approach the topic of mining and the high expectations we are going to have, what would you recommend in any case? Which of those specific aspects would you select for the candidates to take on, considering the viewpoint of mineral resource development? Any proposals?
Well, I think that unfortunately, the reinforcement has dominated the mining discussion in recent months. And so this is just a small portion of the overall mining problem. I believe that the REINFO issue, unfortunately, it's the end of the year, and they will probably extend it without making any changes, nor encouraging formalization, nor punishing the illegality. So that's bad, isn't it? I think the government has to run with the famous MAPE law. The upcoming administration will undoubtedly have to confront this issue. Ensure to complete the task promptly to avoid it being prolonged endlessly.
Now.
And second, I think that the population is increasingly recognizing the significance of mining, including the crucial role it plays in producing valuable resources that contribute to foreign currency and tax revenues. This year's mining output has been high, will be extraordinary, and it will probably be even better next year.
That is exactly what I wanted to talk to you about. The authorizations for Tía María are moving forward without any issues. And the company estimates operating in 2027. What is the economic impact, so people can understand, of the construction of Tía María between 2026 and 2027 for Peru?
Well, being generated about or more than 1,000 jobs at Tía María right now. They'll invest probably close to $2,000 million will be invested in the end. And this is going to mean a value of mining production of around $1,500 million a year. And that's going to generate a huge canon for him. To Arequipa and also to Tambo Valley and surrounding area. The Tía María mine closure will have a profound effect, not just economically, but more crucially, psychologically. This project holds immense importance beyond its physical impact. Originally more than 30 years, but when the authorizations were sought near the end of the administration of Alan Garcia, we are referring to the year 2011. This project already has, for 15 years, it has been completely and utterly paralyzed. Therefore, breaking this inertia is very important for future copper projects. I hope Zafranal and other projects move forward soon.
Well, we have come to the end. Ismael, time is always short. We have several questions left, but we look forward to... Hope to have you back another time. Thank you very much for being on Rumbo Minero.
Thank you, but I'll pass on the invitation.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break and we'll be right back. Entering our America mining block we have a direct connection to New York's Wall Street, enabling seamless access to financial opportunities. José Gonzáles, who serves as the international editor for Rumbo Minero. José, how have you been lately?
Thanks, Jorge. I appreciate being able to connect with you on a weekly basis. Great to catch up with you regularly.
Let's see those interesting topics that you always bring up. Well, following the most recent G20 summit, which notably the leaders of both the United States and China chose not to participate in, there was a resolution passed concerning rare earth minerals, as China had been attempting to foster closer ties with the European Union. So what was the dynamic regarding this summit?
As reported by Bloomberg, the Prime Minister Li Qiang, who was present representing President Xi Jinping, came prepared not only to defend China's position and rare earths as a function of his country's policy, but rather to make an offer to the global south, to the nations formerly called developing countries. Well, critical minerals have indeed become a very important key topic during the G20 summit that took place in South Africa. Meanwhile, as the European messes were grappling with the supply chain problems and nations in the global south were asking for assistance to take advantage of an industry, booming industry, where Beijing dominates the entire processing procedure. Quili touched upon both perspectives. On the one hand, he said they were going to cautiously manage exports of critical minerals for military use, laying out China's rationale. The debate has focused on regulating the availability of resources, serving as the central point of contention. On the other hand, he provided details regarding a worldwide mining undertaking with allied countries, apparently as a reaction to the endeavors by the United States to seize control, increasing dominance in the rare earths industry. What Beijing has said is that it will promote mutually beneficial cooperation and peaceful use of key minerals, saying its country will safeguard the interests of developing countries while prudently addressing military and other uses. And another kind of thing. The G20 had criticized China's multilateral use of rare earths. Especially in the case of industrial powerhouses like Germany and Japan, these nations stand out in manufacturing. The document presented by China establishes that a plan will be created to guarantee mineral resources, vital, emerging as a driving force for economic growth and environmental preservation. President Lula had pointed out at the same meeting that Brazil does not want to be a... Brazil aims to be involved in processing critical minerals, not just as a supplier. To be involved in the extraction, purification, and production of essential minerals. The Chinese government has revealed details to address that problem with a green mining initiative for 19 countries, including Cambodia and Nigeria, Myanmar, and Zimbabwe. The initiative is to build an inclusive network to safeguard fair, reasonable, stable, and smooth mining, and seamless mining. The first time China makes a formal offer regarding the global south countries where the areas of control and dominion over critical minerals are located. On these terms, while continuing to negotiate the terms of agreements on rare earth trading with the United States are being negotiated.
Jose, on the other hand, Barrick Mining, which is a giant in mineral production, both in gold and copper, has announced that it is going to split into 2 units. This, of course, is also going to have an impact on the stock exchange where they are listed. What do Barrick's plans consist of for that division?
According to Reuters, which broke the news, Canadian Barrick Mining has raised the possibility of splitting the company into 2 separate entities. One focused on North America and the other on Africa and Asia. Another division could include Barrick's African assets and those from Reko Diq in Pakistan. In Mali, Barrick has a conflict with the government, and the government of Mali is expropriating the assets, and Barrick is determining how they will be paid for the assets. The company's primary emphasis previously involved a substantial gold mine located in Nevada. Well, that would guarantee that the proposal, that the division and the asset offer from Barrick, if necessary, would not be undervalued. The partner in this operation is Newmont Corporation. In addition to Mali and Nevada, the company also operates copper facilities in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, as well as gold mines in Tanzania, the Dominican Republic, and Papua New Guinea. The company then denounced this Reuters revelation, saying it is considering listing one of the separate units, the United States one. They are aiming to have their gold division listed on a US stock exchange following their current listing on another exchange in the US. Well, the company is listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange and also on a secondary market in New York City. The objective is to list, the gold division within one structure, incorporating a minority option while still holding on to a majority stance. The market analysis suggests that Barrick is getting ready, just like we were discussing last week, on the back of BHP's interest in Anglo, which was restarting and which has receded, in selling off the pieces of the company, concentrating on the gold unit, which could also be attractive to a much larger miner. The mining consolidation process is going to continue according to these indications.
Well, thank you very much to José Gonzáles. As we delve into this global news, expect to encounter an intriguing mix of international analysis and commentary that will surely capture our attention. I am the international editor at Rumbo Minero magazine, José. Your support is much appreciated.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Well, I would like to announce, if you are looking to supply or become a supplier to the mining industry, Rumbo Minero magazine is the top publication, highly respected not only in Peru but throughout South America. So, if you're a supplier wanting to show your products or services to the whole South American mining sector, publish in www.rumbominero.com. Additionally, you have the option to access the complete magazine for free, enabling you to view all the articles that have been published and download all the information available. Constantly in Rumbo Minero. Okay, we're going to take a commercial break and we'll be right back. We are now here in our studios with Miguel Incháustegui, who is the former Minister of Energy and Mines. How are you, Miguel?
Jorge, thank you for the invitation.
Well, the President of the Council of Ministers, as we are aware, Ernesto Alvarez, launched a direct message to the Congress regarding the future of the comprehensive registry, the REINFO, right? The executive hopes the plenary will introduce modifications to the report, approved by the Energy and Mines Committee. We have heard the President of the Republic say that it will be less than 2 years, which we don't like it either, right? It's like saying, you know what? This is the least bad option, right? What modifications do you think could be made that at least we have an acceptable, so that the new government already lays the groundwork to talk again, because they already did it, on a map a little more better done, right?
Well, it is regrettable to ask for REINFO to be extended. I believe the correct thing would be not to extend it. And the right thing to do would be to pass the reinforced ASM law. The typical procedure is being altered to effectively boost artisanal mining efforts while maintaining the essence of the process. And strongly combat illegal mining, right? Anyway, during the technical discussion that took place in August between the Ministry of Energy and Mines involving the previous minister and the previous premier, proposals for interesting changes to the ASM law were put forward by artisanal miners' organizations, such as the Institute and the National Mining Society, during their collaboration. And what the Prime Minister has stated, it's fine, but it would have been better that he would have proposed. Could you please thoroughly evaluate the project, right? Because that project, apart from the extension that for 2 years that prohibits exclusions for 2 years, all those people working there, specifically the illegal miners operating within the jungle, the government ought to remove them without delay the moment the legislative bill is approved by the committee in Congress. We wouldn't be able to get them out until 2028. So, really, the project that the Commission has approved is terrible. It's clear that there are reinforcements that could need more time, but that could be limited. To those who are currently in the process of regulation and not extending it to everyone. And also another topic that seems to me so dangerous is that the bill approved by the committee states that those who have been excluded, the 50,000, can return, right? So truly
rewarding those who commit offenses.
That is precisely correct. Therefore, I believe that the entire Congress needs to be called upon to seriously reflect and to truly listen to everything the Premier is currently stating. And I believe the best thing for the country would be to review that again and create a multi-stakeholder space like the one done in August. to define the best way to proceed with this endeavor.
Could the plenary say that it should go back to committee to be re-evaluated?
Yes, of course. The truth is that we are short of time, right? I think that
What will happen if we no longer have the reinforcements?
No, nothing is happening, because what needs to be approved is the MAPI law. I think it should.
Filed.
Is it sadly true that it's been filed already? The ASM law should be approved or revised, and the REINFO should not be renewed.
So we still have time for that?
Yes, obviously, we are facing a political issue.
Is there enough time to do it quickly? Or do we
Yes,
need to
hurry
speed
up.
up?
There is still some time left. I think that is the message that the Institute is also conveying, which society is also conveying.
However, it is the President of the Republic who really should have been the one to give it. Don't you agree?
I believe the President is trying to strike a political balance, but unfortunately seems to be overly focused on managing appearances rather than truly addressing issues. Talking about less than 2 years being the best, no. I think the best thing is not to continue with the REINFO and to propose a reinforced ASM law and reinforced, and that it improves the procedure. That has been analyzed over a considerable amount of time. It's the last straw for another 5th REINFO extension. It appears as though we may not be able to come to an agreement or evaluate this technically, but in reality, we are capable of doing so, correct? Clearly, there are some hidden motives at play.
Indeed, that is to say, there are those of us who think, Miguel, that the trap has been perfect, right? The 7 technical committees you referred to have approved a total of 11 consensus points. Confirming
Exactly.
and all guilds were also actively involved in the process. The Institute of Mining Engineering, along with the National Mining, Petroleum and Energy Association, are in agreement that there is no need to delay the passing of the bill as long as consensus is reached. With the bill frozen, the only thing left is to extend the reinforcement, even if we don't like it, because otherwise the situation for many will remain in limbo. Given our political system and the ongoing internal elections, the procedure for selecting presidential candidates is being carefully observed at this time. We see a problem with multiple representation of those from the informal sector, of people coming from the informal and illegal mining sector who, even in parties that claim to be right-wing, such as the Popular Renewal, are well positioned in expectant positions. What is the best political approach to address this issue and prevent it from continuing? It's not just about mistakes, but about a deliberate disregard for the law or a preference for informal processes in Peru.
Exactly. I believe that what we have to focus on is really, just as there is a fight. For years there has been a fight against drug trafficking. Here this is an issue that has to be analyzed, not only by the Ministry of Energy and Mines. It has to be an analysis of the entire cabinet and propose, the President can do it, to propose an exhaustive and profound review of this particular subject matter. For example, why not consider a unified position agreed upon by all presidential and congressional candidates? Let's discuss this as a possible approach that mark a strong fight against illegal mining. It is obvious that the topics concerning where illegal mining is getting involved are lurking behind or between the lines, aren't they? However, I truly think that by all political parties strengthening their positions and reaching an agreement similar to the prior declaration made during the runoff election. As Ollanta won and ran, a victory was achieved. Something from now on, an agreement that all with transparency could be of a strong fight against criminal activities, drug trafficking, illegal mining and logging. Is the proposal on a debate concerning the reinforcement of MAPI law clear? It involves complex legal aspects, not merely based on uncertain scientific evidence. Well, the task is completed, just like you mentioned, Cesar. And, well, there was an agreement of 7 points, and I believe that that final mile was missing in order to achieve it, to close the bill. I believe that those 2 things must be done, in my opinion, that the candidates for the presidency and the parties seriously commit themselves to fight against criminal activities and propose a technical debate for a more technical MAPI law, right?
Now, we are looking at a campaign, as you were saying, about the topic of REINFO, right? We are looking at a campaign completely, there is much talk about the subsidy for illegal mining, which is currently dangerous. Not only is it dangerous now, while this topic is being discussed in the plenary of Congress, where obviously there are interested parties and it's all about money, but also how this presidential campaign is going to unfold concerning the subsidy allocation so that no one can audit, right? Of a very large amount of money for candidates who agree with illegal mining, right? How's the vibe? How does it look?
Yes, well, it's quite dreadful, don't you agree? I believe it's part of a worldwide trend where criminal behavior seems to be on the rise. This influences politics. During the recent elections, we have observed a certain impact, even in different areas, haven't we, concerning something. The regions have not been able to formalize things correctly to the artisanal miners, not so much because they lack the capacity. There has also probably been an influence from the illegal ones so that this does not happen. I believe that what we ought to be proposing right now, which the Institute and the National Society of Mining have also put forward in some manner, is that there is a serious commitment to exclude. Is it true that there are individuals participating in illegal mining activities listed for Congress by any chance? Now, it is possible to detect and review that with greater precision using artificial intelligence, and an appeal can be made for its exclusion. On the one hand, and on the other hand, once again, I believe that the agreement, a deep accord between the parties and the candidates to fight against, to combat mining must happen, because otherwise, what occurs is, this text has 16 characters. Something like what is happening with drug trafficking in Mexico is going to happen. There is a possibility of our government being significantly impacted by illegal mining, and it is crucial for us to combat this harmful influence. I sincerely believe that it is high time that not only the miners, or the mining companies make a statement, but since there has been a statement from all the business organizations against the REINFO, it is because it is an issue that and is generating a crisis in the economy.
And we must also incorporate into that commitment the visualization of the irrefutable statistics, the fiscal impact, for example, right?
Exactly.
The state annually loses over 7,500 million souls due to evasion in an illegal activity, generating $12,000 million, resulting in significant financial losses through this path of illegality. It is a universally acknowledged truth that no candidate under any circumstances should be excused from addressing.
Yes, what happens is that, well, that topic, they set aside the things that happen day to day. The representatives or leaders try to prevent that topic from being no comment or forgotten. And once again, they begin to raise the topic that the artisanal miners require an opportunity, don't they? And we are all aware that this is what they utilize. Ultimately, artisanal miners, actually the ones assisting illegal miners in their unlawful operations, are being exploited to sustain the illegal activities, isn't it? The issue of exclusion, for example, of the 50,000 that were excluded in June, all the organizations were saying, we are going to lose our jobs. There will be 50,000 families without any possibility of earning an income. And the truth is that no, it is not like that, is it? Because time passed and they only presented 2,000, I believe. An appeal for reconsideration that has to be decided by the ministry, and most likely they will tell you no. And really, those 50,000 were illegal, that they used those reinforcements for their illegal activity. So otherwise, we would have had some terrible marches for several months, and that hasn't happened, right?
Okay, Miguel Incháustegui, thank you very much for being on Rumbo Minero, former Minister of Energy and Mines. Thank you for
very
being
much for
with
your
us
participation.
and very clear on the issues. We look forward to having you another time.
Thank you very much.
Now, please accompany us as we transition over to the segment focusing on mining and society by Iván Arenas. Go ahead.
Dear friends, you are going for the concessions. What do I mean by all this? That with the REINFO debate and with the REINFO extension, the issue of informal or illegal mining does not end here. In fact, today there is a very well elaborated story by the leaders of CONFEMIN, especially by Mr. Máximo Franco Becker, who goes so far as to say that if one formalizes, it can also be made illegal, however unlikely that may seem. However, Mr. Máximo Franco Becker begins to speak on the matter. He starts to say that if you formalize, you leave the REINFO, and if you do not have an exploitation agreement beyond 2 or 3 years with the concession holder and they leave you out, then you are still considered unlawful. Just like that, and just like that, they are trying to tell us that what they really want are the concessions. And obviously, when we are talking about concessions, we are talking about the mining regime. We discuss compromises related to time and physical proximity. That is why they say that there is a monopolization of concessions. That is why they say that there are idle concessions, and that is why they say that they need the concessions to survive, who need the concessions in order to survive. Which in other words, the REINFO debate is a passing debate. The worst of all this is that in the next elections, the main focus of the campaigns will revolve around mining concessions and permissions granted to those involved in the mining activities. We need to be vigilant about the source of these words, as one can easily manipulate the information. Breaks the regime of concessions that has basically given the lead, transforming the country's approach to modern mining into a key driver of development, fighting poverty, and generating employment opportunities. What we are going to do is that we are going to lose precisely this modern mining. We are going to lose this modern mining because of these stories that try to tell us that the main problem is the concessions. That is where they are going, and we must be careful with everything that comes. We will continue to expand on these issues in the coming weeks. Thank you very much, folks.
Well, reaching the end of the program and entering the conclusions, Cesar, what Miguel Incháustegui tells us, he doesn't align with the whole group of Peruvians who say, well, you see, the MAPE law is shelved, little time remains, so accept what's here. He is completely correct. First, we need to make a call to the President of the Republic, to Mr. Jerry. How is it possible that he states that, don't worry, it will be less than a year? Right? No, he has to say, ladies and gentlemen, there is still time. Let's keep working with the MAPE law. Or alternatively, we could radically change the subject matter of the REINFO, but that shouldn't be solely because it is a transitional government. We cannot let this issue, which is so important for the country's future, pass by.
Jorge, it's December 15th when the session actually ends, which is the most suitable date realistically speaking. It's extremely challenging to successfully pass the
However,
MAPE
when
law.
it comes to subjects that interest them, they express their enthusiasm wholeheartedly.
The trap was indeed perfect, just as we had anticipated. They freeze the law, the discussion that was already advanced, and then they say, oh, poor little artisans, so we're going to have to extend the REINFO period. A perfect trap, but one that has also been addressed in some way by former Minister Ismael Benavides Ferreros of Economy and Finance and also of Agriculture. Knowing that the state has to undergo a profound reform when the next government takes office, and there, valid consensuses must indeed be generated not only with the new parliamentarians but also with civil society itself.
And the topic of agriculture and mining. It is an issue that has been fought over by many guilds and many people in the mining sector, including suppliers. The issue of mining and agriculture and this marriage is very important.
Right.
Crucial.
Jorge, I really want to emphasize that Ismael Benavides was the one who said it. The Parliament has approved a budget with 66 rules that incur in higher current expenses. That has to change. This causes harm to all citizens by hindering public and private investments, which are vital for the economy. Instead of promoting both, it puts a stop to them, leading to negative economic consequences. Rather, it is destined to increase the salaries of the Peruvian bureaucracy.
A call to Cajamarca. Look, Aunt Maria is going to come out. We'll be ready, and please observe the example that engineer Ismael Benavides has just shown us. Ismael Benavides has given us an example of what would happen with Aunt Maria. What happens with Aunt Maria, right? A call to Cajamarca that have stalled projects. They have stalled projects. They have very important stalled projects. And look at the example of what is going to happen with Aunt Maria, gentlemen. So Cajamarca is the place where the most large projects are, and they are stalled. There it is simply that all the people of Cajamarca come to an agreement and move forward for the future of their children now. But these are projects that cannot be left on the way.
Totally agree, Jorge.
Very well. Thank you very much for being with us. My name is Jorge Leon, along with Cesar Campos. Thank you, Cesar.
Thank you.
We have developed this program. We await you, as always, every single weekend and on the days that we are scheduled to be here. The program, by this very sign. Thank you very much.